Yes, sir.
Member Booth. Member Booth? Not yet. Okay. Member Klein? Not hearing Member Klein. Member Davis?
Here.
Vice Chair Earl?
Yes, I'm here.
Member Green, I believe is not, but just double checking. Okay. Vice Chair Hart?
Here.
Member Hymas?
Here.
Member Carey? Member Carey? Okay. Member Lear?
I'm here.
Member Norton?
I'm here, sort of. I'm on my phone and I don't have power. So, help me.
Okay. You're hoping the phone doesn't die? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
We need to send you a charger. Somebody.
Oh, you know what? I have one. That's a good idea. Thanks. I'll grab my little portable. Good job.
Okay. All right. Member Reel.
Here.
Member Straight.
Yo.
Member Wood.
Yes.
And Member Moss is here. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's a quorum. So we will begin. We'll check back and see if others have been able to join us. So we are calling the meeting to order with the quorum present. Welcome to the specially set regular business board meeting, September 16th, 2024. Let me just read in because we're doing this electronically as authorized by Utah Code Section 52-4-207 and Board Bylaws Article 7. This meeting is being held electronically. The public may also attend electronically. The meeting is streamed to the public on YouTube at USBE-media. So we have 2 items of business today, and we will start with our action item 2.1, which is the general session legislative preparation, and specifically prioritization of board legislative funding requests. So thank you, everybody, for completing the survey, reviewing the business cases. Thank you to everyone in our staff who worked up the business cases. This is close to the end of a process that started clear back in May. And we always have the opportunity to hear from board members who are hearing from constituents, to hear from our staff and what they're seeing in internal needs and developments from the field that could use our assistance. And we look forward now to seeing how our ranking turned out. This has all gone into a process of individualized board member ranking for the public. We've had discussions about which items board members voted to have worked up into a formal proposal. That's been going on for a few months. We then had a number of those prepared and presented, and the board, since the last meeting we held, have had the chance to look through those and rank them and prioritize them. So in the past, we have taken our top 10 that come out of this process and presented them as our legislative priorities on the Hill. That's also subject to discussion in today's meeting. Let me just also say that we have gotten a clear request indication that the Public Education Appropriations Committee would like us to be prepared to have some contingency plans, perhaps, as we focus on WPU, for example. They've asked the question, if we're not able to fund WPU at the levels you would like, would you rather throw out the WPU, or would you rather dial that back a bit to prioritize some of these other items that make it up close to the top? But the WPU has always been our number one. So that's for discussion. I'm not making a motion, but we would be in good stead with the legislature as we prioritize if we also discuss that kind of flexibility. part of the need for that flexibility is, as we all know, is this comes in September so that we can meet the Budgetary Procedures Act and present our ranked list to the governor's office by October. So that kind of sets the tone and timing for this. But between now and January, things happen, we get revenue numbers. So that's an opportunity for us to see our priorities based on need as members see them now, and then perhaps to address some flexibility and contingency plans as we get closer to the session. So before we launch in, I'm going to turn this over to, I believe, Chief of Staff Young. Are you going to take lead after I address a couple of questions here? Or Deputy Jones? Well, whoever's taking
I
over.
have nothing for the good of the group, but we can pull the backups up. They're already displayed for the public and for board member view. So I recommend you start with the tracker first so you can see the results of the survey, sir.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to know which of our staff is guiding us through. I assume that's you. You're always the master of the chart. So I had a couple of hands first. I just wanted to know who we'll turn to. So I saw Member Lear and then Vice Chair Earl had hands up before we sort of bring up the chart, or are these motions to be made after we bring up the chart? Member
Mine's
Lear.
a question on your earlier comment, Jim.
Okay, yeah, please.
Is that okay now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My question is, I would really like to discuss that concept that you just sort of threw out there. That's what you're hearing is the preference of the legislature toward us, and that is, could we be prepared to say to whoever the legislative committee is or people, yes, we'd like a very high WPU, and we'll scale down our requests, or we'll lessen our WPU request and consider other items. Anyway, I just wonder when will be the appropriate time to talk about that concept, because it's a really important one and I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and let me just, for a little more context, this was put to me, it was in PEA, probably May or June, by Chair Fillmore of PEA, who pointed out that last year, as I was presenting our priorities, there was a question from PEA: if we can't give you everything you want in the WPU, would you rather do this or that? And I answered that I didn't have direction from my board to make that call, and so I didn't. And so I could have given Jim Moss's answer, but I said, we didn't go through that. And so the direction this year was, we'd like to hear whoever your presenter is, be able to answer that question. So I think it's up to us to decide when. We could talk about it today. We could talk about it later. Once our priorities are set, we could certainly talk in a subsequent meeting about contingency plans. I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. It was more just being prepared so that when we get up there, we're ready for that question if it comes next time.
And just a quick follow-up statement. I really appreciate you saying that you didn't know what the board's direction would be, and I definitely have some opinions about that. So I'd like to sometimes schedule a discussion of that.
Okay, we will most definitely work that in. Like I said, and certainly if board members want to raise it today, they could. I don't think it has to be done today. As long as we sort of take whatever we decide today and then think through contingency. Vice Chair Earl.
If we're done with questions, I didn't know if we were done yet. I wanted to make a couple of motions, so.
Yeah, I think we're to that point. So Deputy Superintendent Jones, if you could bring up or whoever's driving, bring up the list. We have put these in ranked order from 1 to 14 based on board member input. Again, the custom in the past has been to present the top 10. That's also open for discussion, as is the opportunity for any board member to suggest a moving up of any particular item, or moving down, or moving in tandem. So the floor is open to that. Again, thanks to everybody for working these up and weighing in with your rankings. Vice Chair Earl, floor is yours.
Hey, I would like to just to make a motion of order here. The first one is to include our audit with the critical needs so that we have personnel all in one ask and we don't have two different asks for personnel.
Okay, so audit is number 9. Number 1 is critical USBE FTE needs, and the motion would be to combine those two by bringing audit within item number 1. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I second that.
Okay, seconded by Vice Chair Hart. To the maker of the motion, Vice Chair Earl.
Yeah, I just think if we're asking for personnel, we ought to have it in one ask and not two separate asks. I just think that just makes more sense. This is what USBE needs. Audit is part of our oversight and as well as our critical needs here and our staff. So I would just combine the two together. Wherever they end up on the list, I just think the two need to be combined together.
Okay, and just to be clear, as we discussed the motion, currently USBE FT needs is 1. So is your motion to move 9 up into 1 and then see where the board like this? If that happens, then okay.
Yeah, that they're combined together. Wherever they land, that they're combined together.
Okay, well, currently USB is 1. I think we have to make a concrete motion on where you're not proposing to move USB down to 9. I assume it's to move 9 up to 1 and include it, and then board members can decide if that's where they want to keep it if it's combined, right?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
that's right. They're combined together wherever they're at,
Okay.
wherever they
So,
end up landing.
Member Lear.
Question for the maker of the motion, if that's okay, Chair?
Yes.
How would that affect the amount of the request? Was that double it? Would it increase it by 10%? I can't really say if I
Well,
would
it
support.
goes from
that.
905 to, what was that, 700? I can't remember down on the bottom. Would have to look.
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it would be the funding request would be combined together.
And so what is just enlighten me.
Well, 9 and 7, 1,600,000 roughly.
As opposed to not just the USBE alone, not without audit. How much is that?
That's 900,000. Let me make sure.
Yeah, I got that.
Well, you did, but the public, I just want to make sure.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that response. I have reservations about that. The number of auditors we have has, I don't know what, 15 times something, or the staff members, let me be clear. The staff members in audit have increased by at least 10-fold. I would say it's closer to 12 or 15-fold in the last 15 years. I am really cautious about that until we put more money in training and helping LEAs at the front end instead of monitoring at the back end. So I'm really reluctant to do that. I would, and especially if it's the very first request we have, I'm really reluctant to include that audit number in that.
Thank you, member Norton.
I just have a question about that same motion. Hang on. I'm wondering why they were not included in the first place. I mean, aren't we all one entity?
Can I put that to Deputy Superintendent Jones? I think I will say as a preface that initially audit was put forward where the broader and a much larger FTE proposal was not. And then I think when we had 3 or 4 members ask to have critical needs brought back, it came back with a smaller list and audit was already there. But Deputy Superintendent Jones, could you correct me there if that's off?
No, I think you're spot on, Chair. So that my understanding was we would combine all of the FTEs into the one case, right? Or the one request for funding. So you're spot on.
I think back in June, there was initially worked up by staff, a larger FTE request that included a significantly higher number of employees. That was not voted to be moved forward, correct? And then it came back smaller, and audit had been prioritized early in the process. So now we've got two that are separate. But yeah, I see no reason to keep them apart. And so I would support, and I would share Member Lear's suggestion that we want to be doing training. And I don't know if the additional FTEs in audit might also be involved in training. My understanding is that when an audited body asks for guidance or training, that our auditing staff stands prepared to help them with training, but perhaps somebody could correct me on that as well.
Hey, Chair. So Chair Moss, this is Scott. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear for the good of the group. So there was the process of the needs from the field. So my understanding is the audit section had designated or determined those needs as a result of the input from the field or needs of the field, right? So I think you're saying the same thing, but that's how that came to be. So combining the cases or the requests may not be, because you're taking the critical needs of the FTEs within our office, and then you're taking the what was, provided by internal audit. So does that make sense?
Yes, but these are both for FTEs within our office, correct? Both the audit item and the separate USBE FTE needs. We're not. This is not to fund positions out in the field, is it? These are both to fund positions within USBE.
Right. No. So my understanding is that these are the needs of the field for that part of it. Is Chief Audit Executive Davis in here?
I'm here if you'd like me to
Yeah.
provide some insight.
So I think we should hear from her, Chair Moss, if you'd
Yeah,
recognize.
thank you. Thank you. My understanding was this was
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, thanks. Go ahead, Debbie.
Okay, so Chief Audit Executive Debbie Davis. So internal audit, and you'll see within this request, the board moved that they would like staff to prepare one of these funding proposals for the internal audit department, where we've seen a significant increase in hotlines, a significant increase in external audits, all of these things where these are critical functions of the internal audit department. And we have not really had a significant increase in internal audit staff over the past 10 years, really. So this request is the board prioritized it. And so internal audit did some research, put it together. It is capacity for the USBE internal audit department. So it is a critical need within the department. And that's why we put it together. It was from just that board request.
All right, thank you. So I was stating correctly that both of these are to fund FTEs within USBE. Correct or no?
Yes, my understanding is that's correct. They would all of these are USBE employees or requests for USBE employees.
Right, okay. Some are specific to audit and others are elsewhere in the organization. Okay.
Correct.
Let's see, Member Lear and Vice Chair Earl.
I think that it's a little bit inaccurate to say these are all employees within the USBE, because as I understand it, the USBE employees report directly to the superintendent, whereas the audit staff reports to the board. So the request that the superintendent pulled together, or her staff pulled together, for us to understand the critical needs for USBE are specific to that group and that leader. And I think if we're going to hear from CAE Davis, we should hear from Superintendent Dixon about how she feels about combining the two, and if she feels that is, and I know that puts her in a little bit of an awkward situation, but I think it would be important to hear, because it certainly dilutes the strength of the request for the superintendent's employees to add at least I can't do the math that quickly, but 3/4 again, what the USBE request was. So I'd like to hear from Superintendent Dixon if she's, or I don't know if Scott could reply in her stead if she's not here.
Thank you, Member Lear, and I'm happy for that clarification. I was not sure for a minute there whether these were to fund positions out in the field as opposed to USBE. So within USBE, I recognize the distinction. Superintendent Dixon, Deputy Superintendent Jones. Anybody
Yes,
want to address that?
I'm on if you can hear me.
Yes.
So just a little bit, it's a little tricky. I think CAE Davis reports to the board and her staff is sort of like our operations staff. Scott reports directly to you, but his section, they are USBE employees, and the same with Auditor Davis, I believe. Somebody can correct me, but I believe she reports directly to the board and her employees are part of USBE. And there are always, we've discussed this back and forth about the benefits and challenges of grouping all FTE needs together or separating them out. And we can argue it either way. I'll let Scott throw a little lightning on my thunder, but I think we would determine that if they are audit employees, especially as Auditor Davis has outlined needs for hotline, et cetera, they would fall within USBE employees. That's my understanding.
Thank you. Deputy Jones, did you want to add to that?
Well, and Jim, before Superintendent Dixon leaves, I wanted to ask her to respond to how she feels about increasing the number of the USBE employee request to include the audit staff. Could she respond?
Then Dixon, if you'd like to respond on the feelings about it, feel free.
Well, I think I just did by just stating that they're actually are USBE employees. So if it were somebody that responds directly to the board, then that would be for you to discuss. But with USBE employees, that being members of internal audit, then it would just be part of our overall ask.
Got it. Okay. So these are all USBE employees, meaning not
Thank you.
elected, but
Kind of a answer. Thank you.
but what was formerly known as the office. Sometimes it helps to separate, but that's what all of these folks would fit in there. Let's see, Member Straight, Sybil or Kelsey, can you help me if I get out of line? I apologize. I'm not keeping a good list of. I think I had Member Straight, might have been Member Norton or Member Earl.
I'm third on the list.
Okay. Anybody know who was first between Vice Chair Earl?
I'm not really speaking to this other than I had already kind of said mine, but I would say that these are our employees, all of them, and that we advocate for USB employees. So if I don't see why we're differentiating or moving them out, and saying there's some employees over here, there's some over here that we're advocating for. I just think it's got to be one.
Okay.
View.
Okay, Member Norton, and then Member Straight, and then Member Davis.
Thank you. I hear that comment and I understand it. The thing that I am concerned about is because of the amounts where we've got 905 for for the whole rest of the entity, whereas this one unit is asking for 724,000. And that's the part that concerns me. I think we do need to treat them all the same, but I really wonder if all of that goes in together, does that change out the sorting? Are they really all critical needs employees? That's where this is really messy for me, is I wish that all those groups would have got together, given us one list, prioritized with the amount, because I really have I'm now, it doesn't feel like it's as critical anymore. Where when I voted for that critical needs, I felt like that was critical needs. And now to almost double it with one entity brings a red flag to my mind. So that's my concern. If I wonder if going into this, that could have been handled a little differently and at this point, does that leave more questions than, solid, strong rate at number one?
Okay, and I'll turn to member Straight and Davis, just a quick flashback. The audit part was put on the list before the others because initially there were not enough votes to support the business case for overall FTEs. And then there were some discussions, including leadership, and we felt the need to bring it back up for consideration of broader FTEs. So audit was kind of on there, and then this was brought back in a reduced number, and that's what caused some of the disjointed nature. So you're right, it ended up a little bit different this time, but that's kind of the route to how it got here separately. It was going back to the well and bringing back the broader one. Member Straight?
In general, as I look at the rankings here, it seems that the board is absolutely committed to those critical USBE FTE needs. Also committed, but all the way down to number 9. And what I'm hearing is that audit is included in number 1 already. I get the point. Well, let's just combine it.
That's not. I'll just jump in. It's not included in number 1. It was brought forward earlier and placed lower, but then number 1 was brought back later and ranked higher at number 1. So the question now is whether to bring those two back together. But go ahead, member Straight. I'm sorry to.
I appreciate the clarification. That was a perfect time to jump in. So thank you. So that being said, I'm of the mind that since the board has voted and number 1 here is so important in the minds of the board in general, I'm saying we leave it the way it is, because really in the end, we want to make certain number 1 gets covered. And that goes to your question, Chair. If we get into the meeting in January and the chair is up there and they ask the question 1, well, we voted number 1. That's an easy answer.
So just
FTE needs.
point of order.
Thorough, yes.
A point of order. We have not voted on any of these. Everybody took a survey and the survey results are this, but this has not been a board vote yet, just to make sure we're clear on that. Today, we're establishing that, so.
Okay, the famous game show survey says, anyway.
Yeah, correct. As we vote on these various proposals, we will reach something that will be the voted order. And so currently we've got 1 through 14. Again, if we follow past practice, 1 through 10 would go up to the legislature as the priorities. Seeing no further comments, and again, I support the combining of these two because frankly, the only reason they're separated was a bit of an anomaly where there was a heavy list that was not supported. We and others in leadership felt the need to bring back the USBE FTE and bring it back onto the list where audit already was. So to me, it makes sense to recombine those just to correct kind of a procedural anomaly that we went through in the summer. And I'd prefer to see those go up together, but let's put it to a vote. And I'll remind folks it's 5:30 and we want to make sure we get through these and turn to some goals discussion. So let's all vote. The motion is that the board combine the audit staff funding request number 9 with the USBE critical FTE needs number 1 and leave the combined request at number 1. All members, please vote.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Chair Moss,
Yes.
would you mind doing a roll call vote, please, so that we can have it recorded for the meeting?
Oh, sure. All right.
Thank you.
Let's go from the bottom this time. Member Moss is a yes. Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Straight?
No.
Member Reel?
No.
Member Norton?
No.
Member Lear?
No.
Member Hymas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hart?
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl?
Yes.
Member Davis?
No.
Member Bogus,
No.
and let me check if anybody joined. Member Carey,
No.
member Carey's with us and is a no. Okay. Member Green, member Klein, member Booth.
No.
Member Booth's with us, thank you, and is a no. Okay. I didn't keep the tally. Sybil, what does that give us?
That motion does not pass. You have 8 noes and 5 yeses.
Could you read the yeses for the record?
Yes, the yeses are Vice Chair Earl, Vice Chair Hart, Member Hymus, Member Wood, and Chair Moss.
All right, thank you. I'll try to keep better track of those. All right, so the floor is back open again. That means that the audit item remains at number 9 and FTEs generally remains at number 1. Other motions? I see a hand from Vice Chair Earl.
Yeah, I just want to reorder here. I want to move that SIS is put at the top, teachers and their professional hours second, safety third, critical needs fourth, and then grow your own fifth, and then the rest as however they're currently ordered as they fall underneath there. And I quite honestly that, oh, I gotta have a second first.
Let's see, let's frame it up first. If
Mhm.
if it's possible, Sybil, to just say this moves from X to Y, that moves from Y to Z.
Chair, could you restate them? Yeah,
I'll restate them. So it would be the SIS, teachers' professional hours, safety, critical needs, employees, grow your own, and then however however the rest of them fall in underneath there.
So the top 6 would be reordered, but below 7 would remain as they are.
Actually, I have the top 5.
Board member, what was number 2 again? I think
The
safety was,
teachers' professional hours, the professional hours.
okay.
I thought safety moved up. That's currently 6, but
Yeah, it's safety. And quite honestly, those top 3 to me can be in any order. To be honest with you, those are all
let's
critical
put it
needs,
out
but
so we can see if
that's how I have it right now. Yep. And then we can adjust whatever. Critical
All right.
need.
Okay.
Point of information, Chair.
Yes.
And this is Board Member Carey. This may have happened before I joined. Was there a monetary amount affixed to the SIS request?
We did not add anything to that during the meeting, so it is as it was brought forward from the last meeting, which is a TBD.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Chair Moss.
Yes, sir. Member Hymus?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and second, but I do want to let Member Earl know I'm seconding this only so I can hear her convincing argument, because I don't know if I would vote for this right now, but I'm guessing she knows something that I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I certainly do not know that, but I will share. I just
Let's
looking.
just see if we got it teed up. Vice
Is
Chair,
that-
one sec. I want to make sure this reflects
Sure.
what you, and then we can discuss. So SIS would go from number 4 to number 1. Professional hours would go from 2, actually that would stay at 2. Safety would go from 6 to 3. Critical needs would go from 1 to 4. In National Board Certified Teachers, I guess would stay at, well, hang on. I think
It would drop to
necessarily
7.
6. I think that would go to 6 if I'm I think the top 6
Oh
are,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
so National Board Certified would go from 5 to 6. And everything else would stay. So we just need another line inserted between 5 and 6.
Okay, very good.
Almost. So this would move National Board Certified Teachers from 5 to 6. Okay, back to you, Vice Chair Earl. I think we got
Yeah,
it.
and quite honestly, I think the top three are almost, to me, are very equal. We're taking care of the system, meaning the SIS needs there. We're addressing teacher professional hours, which has been key to a lot of our professionals. And then the safety item to adequate funding for that. Those are top three things in my book. And then the top after that would be critical needs, grow your own, and then, you know, the others fall into line after that. So that, and I don't know if that was enough of an answer for you. Maybe people can move the others around if they want, but those, I just see those as critical for our function. So, and to supporting the system.
Okay, discussion of the motion.
I move to divide.
Okay, what's the division proposed?
Well, essentially, I'd like to vote on them all separately, but if I had to choose, what's your question, Chair?
Well, when you have a motion to divide, you need to tee up just specifically what you'd like to divide. It could be in thirds, it could be each one considered separately. You can sort of frame whatever division you'd like to propose, but we need to have some division in sort of concretely set out there.
Then I'd move to vote on each of them separately.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded to the maker. Did you want to speak to the motion, Member Bogus?
Well, yeah, sir, I guess just inherently as a function of principle, I think omnibus motions are just bad governance. But secondly, we're tying an affirmative vote to one to the votes of the other. And in my opinion, that's just a manipulative process for board members to be tied to that. It's not very fair and sporting. And secondly, I think my last thing would be many of these, I think, are poor moves. I don't think this is the direction the board should be heading. Number one, on its face, is authoritarian and communistic in its infrastructure, and I think we should move away from something like that. I think we've got lots of things there.
Okay. Rather than speaking to the merits of each one, just to the reasons for division, which I think you've stated. Anything further?
Oh, okay. There you go, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And whether it's divided or not, we'll certainly be able to address the merits of each. Any further discussion on the motion to divide? Member Norton. You're muted.
This is about the motion, but it's not about the division.
Okay, we can come back if it's on the merits. Any further discussion to the motion to divide? And Sybil and Kelsey, I can't see everybody. I think I've got most, but if I'm missing a hand, let's see. Okay.
I'll help you track.
All right, I see no further hands then on the motion to divide, so let's take a roll call vote. Again, the motion is to divide each of these 6 items of movement separately, to be considered separately, 1 through 6. And this will only affect the top 6. Member Bogus?
Yes.
Member Booth?
Yes.
Member Klein? Member Davis?
Yes.
Member Davis, yes? I think I heard yes. Can you just confirm? Sorry.
I mean, I'm a no on the whole thing, but if you need to divide, that's fine. If some people want to vote different. So that's a yes.
Okay, I didn't want to presume. I thought I heard yeah, and I figured I'd check. So you're a yes? Okay. Vice Chair Earl?
Yes.
Member Green? Vice Chair Hart?
Yes.
Member Highness?
Yes.
Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Norton?
Yes.
Member Reel?
Yes.
Member Straight?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Moss is yes, that passes unanimously, so we have them split. Let's go back to the maker of the motion. They're divided now. Member or Vice Chair Earl, would you like to speak to motion number 1, moving SIS legislative funding request from current ranking of number 4 to number 1?
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like 1, 2, or 3 is placed for some of these top priorities, and that's, I do think the SIS system, which helping to figure out how to get accurate data and to work with districts that need, especially our rural districts that need additional help with that. I just think that's a priority we need to have at the top of our list. So.
Okay, further discussion to that motion. Member Norton, are you up for that or to be?
Well, I'm just gonna throw this out here now, and then you can tell me if I should shush and come back later. But where's WPU? That's
WPU is always
our number 1, and it's
always
not
our
even
presumptive number 1, and it's not listed. And I think at some point somebody's going to move for what that number ought to be. But good point to bring it up.
Okay.
That's and if we want to add that, and if people want to depart from our standard practice, I suppose we could. But that's always been considered our presumptive number 1. So
then I would like to make a substitute motion or amendment. I'll just make an amendment to add WPU as our number 1 with SIS as our number 2.
okay, is there a second to that? I'll second. I think we had a couple seconds. Member Reel, is that you?
Yeah, it was me. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion of that motion, Member Norton?
No, I'll lower my hand.
Okay. Further discussion to that motion. I see Member Carey's hand. Is that for this motion?
I just have a point of information, but it's not to the motion that Board Member Norton just made.
Okay. We will come back. Member Lear.
I support the WPU as number 1, but I don't support the SIS issue as number 2, so I'll have to vote no. I was a fan of the SIS change and moving in that direction. And then I heard from the USBA, heard from a number of LEAs, and was persuaded that we need to maybe slow down. And in a year that doesn't sound like it's going to be a blockbuster in terms of money, I'm not a fan of putting the SIS number 2, essentially number 1 this year.
Point of information, can I just get a clarity on what that motion is around the SIS? Can we read that out just to be clear from what came out of last week? I just want to make sure, or a week and a half ago. Sorry, I don't have it right up in front of me. Kelsey or Sybil, would one of you mind, or Sarah, just reading the motion that came out, just so we're clear on what that is?
Yeah, I'm happy to read it. I would have to go back.
Not you. Oh, maybe.
Oh, did you mean
Sarah? Oh, I was thinking Sarah, but it's in our document. I just wondered if one of the
yeah,
staff
I have it here.
would read it out. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, further discussion of that motion, Vice Chair Hart and Member Hymas.
Yeah, so I personally don't think we should be addressing WPU until numbers come out. I think it's a stab in the dark and it complicates the issue. Yeah, we can all come up with a random number, but it has no it, like you mentioned, so say we decided on, just for example, 4%. Well, if they can only do 3%, then does it all go to the WPU, or do we do some of the items plus a little bit of WPU? I think the WPU confuses the matter, pins us down, and we don't have a lot of data. So I feel like it undermines our credibility a little bit. And I think what we're doing is we're putting a priority order to other items. WPU is a foregone conclusion. So I suppose we could put it as number one, but I just don't feel like it goes in this list. This list is a prioritization of other things. And I think WPU requires a separate conversation when we have a little bit more information. But that's just my thought. And SIS, sorry, just real quickly, we went up to the last legislative audit to report out on that time was SOEP, and we were once again asked about our data reliability and the need to update systems. And I totally understand that SEATS is different than the SIS. However, this issue is hanging over our heads, and what the response was a bipartisan concern over our data systems. I don't think we're going too fast. I think that what we're asking for is not a wholesale purchase. We're asking to just do some work in this area now that USIMS is so far along, we got to look at the other half of the equation. USIMS is the mothership. We need to look at all of the satellites. We need to make sure that our data, how we're handling data is accurate. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. And let's see, got a lot of hands. I think it was Hymas, Davis, Norton, and Booth, but Sel, did I get any of that wrong?
That was correct, Chair Moss.
Okay, Member Hymas.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate what Molly said here, and I wonder if we can get some feedback. For me, I think of, Chair, what you had mentioned, some of the individuals up on the Hill saying, what do you want to do with WPU? If the money can go there, maybe I heard wrong, but if the money can go there, do you want it to go there? Do you want us to fund these other things? For me, the WPU is always number one. I'd rather see it go there where LEAs have flexibility before putting it into a program and saying, okay, cut short the WPU. So I guess I'm seeking kind of an amendment to Kristen's amendment, if that's in order. But it would say the board add WPU as number one and further discuss the ranked items from Member Earl's motion or something like that, where we're not committing to SIS going number two in that. But I do definitely believe that WPU should be number one for all LEAs. And then again, with Molly's point, very well taken. We don't have numbers yet, but what, in my opinion, what I would like to say to the legislature is, we value this over these other programs. We'll take what you can give us in WPU. And then if we have some more, let's put it in these other programs. But WPU comes first. That's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Member Hymas. And I'll just, clarify procedurally. What goes to the governor's office will often be compared with what we presented. We do have the opportunity to amend, add WPU later. All these things I think are up for discussion. So typically we put WPU on there as a bit of a placeholder and then adjusted. We could leave it off. We need to come back if we wanted to add it after it goes to the governor, if that were the decision. Which
Chair, if I can follow up on that comment, if that's okay.
Yes.
If that's what it takes, that's fine. I just don't want to neglect what to me holds the highest value that's not on this list at all. So if that has to come later, I don't have a second. I don't even know if it's a formal motion or amendment to amend. I don't know if that's procedurally okay. If I don't get a second, okay, we can still move forward later on. That's what I'm hearing from you. Is that right, Chair?
Well, and I don't, yeah, we still need a second. I just wanted to clarify for board members procedurally, if this is approved, WPU would be on there. If Vice Chair Hart, or let's see, who was it that pulled? If WPU is not on there, then it would not go to the governor and we would need to add it later. I don't mean to suggest one of those is better or not. Just procedurally, that's how this would shake out depending on the vote. So
Second.
Vice Chair, it's been seconded. Okay, Vice Chair or Member Davis. The motion then is to add the WPU as number 1 and then further discuss the remaining items. This is a motion to amend Member Norton's amendment.
Yeah, it seemed like last year, and possibly even the year before that, the last couple of years, we ended up doing two separate things. We ended up having a WPU request, which we said, this is really our top priority. Within what you can do with this ongoing WPU request, if you have flexibility on top of that, here are our top 10 requests in a list right next to it. Because those you have to ebb and flow with ongoing and one-time funds, and sometimes you can tweak the ongoing request to turn into one-times, and so it just seems to work out better to state, yes, here's our WPU request and here's our priority, and I think we could determine a number for that today, and then where there's flexibility. In addition to that, and after what you decide is going to be your WPU, these would be our top 10 requests. 10 to 12. Some years we've done 10, some years we've done 12. But that's what I would do. I think we have all the motions that we can have on the floor right now. We can't have a sub.
Correct.
Okay.
So, okay. Further discussion then to the motion. This is the motion to amend. I think we have
You
hold
have
on here.
member
Double
Norton.
checking me.
Yes, member Norton is next, then Booth and Straight.
Great. Okay, there we go.
I just want to make a comment about Member Hymas's motion, and I feel like it is in support of my original motion, and that is specifically because that WPU, just as a reminder to the board, that last year, the legislature took a lot of line items, or what we call below the line item, and put those all up into the WPU. So we need a very strong WPU because it has to fund a lot more than it has in the past when we took all of those at-will items and put them into the WPU. So that's, I appreciate that amendment that Board Member Hymas made.
Okay, Member Booth.
I just wanted to speak in support of Member Hymas's amendment. With 20 years on school boards in the state of Utah, I cannot remember any year, any season where WPU has not been the top priority of any local school board that I've had anything to do with, of USBA, of the legislative group that gets together with USBA. There's no question, and I hear you, Chair Moss, that it's going to be there and it'll get there eventually, but I would prefer to go with a resounding WPU is still our main source and we are totally committed to it, and thank you very much, and please don't make it any smaller, and then we'll go ahead with all the other things. So WPU, in order for everyone to feel supported out on in the field who are working for hundreds of hours to come up with their priority, there's no question that WPU is their priority, and I'd love to be supportive of them in their efforts to make sure that that's what it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Booth. Member Straight.
Yes, I think I have a friendly. Can I present that?
I don't think we have room for friendlies unless that doesn't count, which I think it does. Civil we have a motion, an amendment, and an amendment to the amendment. So I'm not sure if a third motion, even if it's a friendly, is in order, but let me turn to our parliamentarian there.
You're correct, Chair Moss.
Okay.
I'll wait then.
Unless it's something that's. And then Vice Chair Earl raised her hand as well.
Yeah, just quick. I guess I was assuming that the
Hold on,
WPU was.
just a sec. I just wanted to see if Member Straight had something else, or was it just that
Oh.
motion? Okay,
I'll wait.
sorry, back to you, Vice Chair Earl.
Yeah, I guess I was assuming the WPU was top, meaning that it was going forward, but I'm happy to, I think I agree with this here, that letting them know that this is our number one thing, and then the other priorities underneath. I guess I was looking at it as prioritizing our other programming or recommendations outside the WPU. But I'm happy to do this. I think this is a good direction forward. So, and I do think the WPU is where districts, people I've talked to, this is where they want funding because it has the greatest amount of flexibility. And as Kristen Norton spoke to, a lot of things have wrapped up in there. So I'm happy to move this. I'm ready to vote unless others have more comment.
I don't see any other hands unless Sybil, I'm missing somebody. And I think we're talking about timing here as much as anything, whether to put it top now or hold until we have numbers, at least as I understand the various proposals. So we've had the discussion.
Point of information, Chair. What is the amount that he's putting with it? What is the amount of the WPU that we're prioritizing?
No, nobody has proposed an amount on the WPU. We have a couple other items that also don't have amounts. So at least as this one has been presented, it does not have a number on it yet. It's just a matter of placing it at number one.
I can speak to that, Chair. I don't know if you want to spend the time. I think Cindy gets it. You know, there is no amount. It's just simply saying this is important to us. Whatever we can get, right? We'll take it. You know.
Hey, SIS also does not have a number yet. So these can be ranked and numbers can be added later unless members want to add numbers now. But the motion before us is to amend the amendment by adding WPU as number one and then further discuss the remaining items. So let's go through the roll call, starting with Member Bogus.
No.
Member Booth.
Yes.
Member Klein. Member Davis.
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl.
Yes.
Member Green. Vice Chair Hart.
Yes.
Member Hymas.
Yes.
Member Carey.
Yes.
Member Lear.
Yes.
Member Norton.
Yes.
Member Reel.
Yes.
Member Straight.
Yes.
Member Wood.
Yes.
And Member Moss is a yes. That passes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12 to 1. No vote being Member Bogus, I believe, correct? All right, so that brings us back to, let's see, that amends Member Norton's amendment and brings us back, I believe, to the remaining order, which now, rather than being 1 through 6, are 2 through 7.
Chair.
And the underlying motion was to move the SIS legislative funding request to what would be now number 2, given the intervening motion to amend. So that's the underlying member Hymas's motion, included further discussion of the remaining items. So back to the discussion on item number 2 up on the board, moving SIS to number 2. I see Member Straight's hand on that.
Actually, I have an amendment to the last motion.
Well, it would have to be a new. What we've got before us on the body, because, well, let's see. Hold on here. Let me make sure I'm doing this right.
So we had an amendment to an amendment. And I couldn't
Yeah,
make
we
other
passed the
amendment.
amendment to the amendment. The underlying amendment then, hold on here, let me track this through. Add WPU as number 1 with SIS as number 2. That was amended to remove reference to number 2. And so the underlying motion then that leaves, I believe, would be moving SIS funding request not to number 1, which has been superseded, but to number 2. Sybil, does that sound right? Is that the motion before us then, is the underlying initial motion?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so the motion before the body is to move SIS legislative funding request from what is now number, let's see, hang on.
Chair, I believe you already made that motion because it said to rank WPU as number 1 and then further discuss the remaining items.
Right.
So
Right.
everything just moved down.
The specific underlying motion that was pending, which was amended by member Norton and member Hymas, was to move SIS to number 1. Having been superseded by WPU, I think the specific motion before us is to move SIS now to number 2. That's what's pending. That's what was amended with the intervening move of WPU to number 1. So discussion to that motion. And was that seconded before we got talking? I think the underlying motion might have been seconded by member Carey, but I'm not sure.
Member Carey seconded board member Hymas's amended motion.
Okay.
Motion to amend.
All right. So did we have a second on the underlying motion to remove SIS funding up to what is now number 2? Sybil?
The original motion to amend, I believe, was seconded by member Hymas. Is that correct, member Hymas?
Yeah.
The initial motion. So let me try to get my voice.
Let me track this through, Sybil. We divided, right? And then I think the first motion that was made was to move SIS legislative funding request to number 1. That was amended to put WPU as number 1 and move SIS to number 2. That was further amended to drop the reference to SIS. So SIS did not move up from number 5 to number 2. We just had WPU inserted as number 1. I think what that left is the underlying motion, which is to move SIS up to what is now number 2. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what's left of the initial motion.
If I may, this is Michelle.
Yeah.
That's correct. And that's the motion that member Norton made.
The member Hymas already seconded all of those movements, and then it was divided. The question was divided. So I don't know that you need to second every one of those separately again. Now that they've been divided, they were already seconded by member Hymas. Wouldn't that be the case?
Okay, the second transfers through after division then? Okay, if that's your input, I was looking at what was put before the body was what's now motion number 2. And then it was amended, and now we're back to the underlying motion. So if the ruling is that's already been seconded, then it's open to discussion on item number 2, which is to move the SIS legislative funding request to number 2. So discussion of that motion. I see member Straight, member Carey. Is that to this motion?
I have a substitute motion.
Okay, that's it.
I have a motion on the WPU. Can I make that motion?
Well, what's pending is SIS, and so WPU is still open for amendment or a motion, but not a particular motion. We can come back to any motions related to WPU. But the one pending is SIS. So if there's that's not excluding discussion of WP or anything else. But member Carey, what's the substitute to?
My substitute motion would be that the board affix a price tag, a number to those items that don't currently have one. And in particular, that would be SIS and the WPU.
Did you have a number in mind as part of that motion, or just the?
Not currently. Once the board discusses it, but I don't, Chair.
Okay.
I would second his motion without numbers.
Okay. And I assume, do you mean by that? And we typically do, just to get clarity, the board typically does add a number to all of these before they go up to the legislature. Would the motion be that we affix a dollar amount today before
Yes.
going to the governor's office?
Yes, my motion is to affix, but I don't have a number in mind, but I think we should affix a number. I guess what I'm saying is it's difficult for me to vote SIS if I don't know the price.
Okay. So the motion then is to affix a number today. We would be binding ourselves to affix a number today, number to be determined later, but today, as I understand it, again, just for procedural clarity, we always end up attaching a number, but that sometimes comes later. This motion, as I understand it, would be to ensure that we do that today as we're setting these rankings before sending them off to the governor's office, at least if I'm understanding correctly. So
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, so the motion passes, we would be required to affix some number, both to the WPU and SIS. Either of those could, of course, be amended later if the body chose to do that next month or the following, but they would have a number before they go to the governor's office. So any discussion on that motion, Member Davis?
Yeah, I don't know where we are in the order of things, but I would move that we ask for a 3% increase to the WPU on top of growth and inflation. So that would be 6.8 total. And if I get a second, I'll speak to the motion.
Second.
Okay, back to you, Member Davis.
We have currently, it'll be about 3.8% for growth and inflation based on the formulas that we use, but that still doesn't give us the actual inflation amounts. So if we ask for 3.3% above that, we still might be getting close to hitting those inflationary costs just to try to maintain quality. And it will be some above what we're estimating, but usually what we estimate, the actual funds come in higher than that typically, but it wouldn't be above necessarily the hits that we've been taking with the high inflation the last couple of years. So
does that capture
6.8 total.
6.8 total. So 3% above what you're presenting as growth and inflation would be 3.8%. That hasn't been brought out here, but you're getting those numbers from our staff and then adding 3%, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
So
that's been seconded by Member Carey, but Member Hymas, I see a hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I want to share my support of this motion and just ask if I could, Chair, ask the maker of the motion if this 3.8 is an estimate by staff, if that fluctuates, does this automatically fluctuate? So we're asking for a set price of 3% above this growth and inflation.
Member Davis?
The 3.8 is from staff on growth and inflation. So the 3% above that is what we're asking. In addition,
Right.
the inflation portion of the 3.8 is less than actual inflation has been because of that long formula that we have to use that combines multiple years. But this additional 3% would take us up a little bit more. A 6.8% value on the WPU would be 306 million.
I'm just asking, Chair, if I can clarify my question.
Yeah, and I think I know where you're going with this. It's whether you're locking in the 6.8 or locking in the 3, right?
Yes, yes, that's exactly it. So if it comes back and they say, well, growth in inflation is only 3.2% this year, we're saying we'll
I
ask.
missed it. We're locking in the 3 above
Thank you.
growth and inflation.
Whatever growth and inflation is, we would be asking for an additional 3%. Deputy Superintendent Jones?
I think Board Member Hymas and Board Member Davis covered it, sir. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that the 3.8% inflationary adjustment is an estimate at this point. It could be lower, it could be a little bit higher, but not by much. And we're estimating that a 1% change in the value of the WPU is estimated to be 45 million. So that's where board member Davis is getting her 3.8% plus 3% for 6.8% would be approximately 306 million. So, yeah, I think we're all tracking now.
All right, I think I see member Straight and then member Booth. Is that the right order?
Yes.
Thank you, Sybil. Okay, so on the motion to amend.
Yes, I'm absolutely in support of this. In fact, that's what the amendment I was trying to make. And so it does put us in alignment with JLC. And so that's important to note.
Okay, thank you. And is that exactly what JLC is currently proposing then? It's an additional 3 on top?
It is.
Member Booth, to you, sir.
Yeah, I was just looking at JLC's elevator speech and their background information they published online, and that's exactly what they're asking for. So we would be exactly in line with all of the local school districts and all of the superintendents and business managers across the state that have contributed to that 3% figure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, member Booth. Okay, so the motion from member Carey was that we affix a dollar amount to both WPU and SIS. The motion by member Davis to amend does attach a specific amount, a percentage to the WPU. So this would be an amendment to the underlying motion of member Carey, which would still leave SIS funding. But we're talking right now about the percentage to attach to the WPU. Seeing no further lights, let's vote. Member, and again, all of this can be revised as numbers come in. Just want to make clear that to our members.
Wait,
that's
point of information, Chair, before we start that vote.
Yes.
I want to make sure we're voting only on the amount for the WPU. This is not tied to putting the SIS second. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
So let me just give the order of pending motions. The underlying motion from Vice Chair Earl was to move SIS to number 2. The substitute motion from member Carey was to attach a dollar amount to both SIS and WPU before voting on the ranking of SAS or anything else. And member Davis's was to, in fact, attach a percentage point to the WPU. If this passes, it goes back to member Carey's underlying motion to attach dollar amounts. The WPU amount would already be there.
To SIS.
Yeah, so that would be a motion to add to SIS prior to perhaps a motion
Voting.
to rank SIS. So
Thank you.
if that's clear as mud, we can vote.
No, much clearer. Thank
All
you.
right, member Boggess. Member Boggess?
Yes.
Boggess is a yes. Member Booth?
Yes.
Member Klein? Member Davis?
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl?
Yes.
I'll just skip those that aren't with us. Member Klein, member Green. Just let me know, Sybil, if they pop up so I don't keep announcing. Vice Chair Hart?
No.
Member Hymas?
Yes.
Member Carey?
Yes.
Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Norton?
Yes.
Member Reel?
Yes.
Member Straight?
Yes.
Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Moss is a yes. Okay, so that passes, I believe, 11-1 with the no vote being Vice Chair Hart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 12-1, excuse me. Okay, that brings us back to member Carey's underlying motion that the board affix a dollar amount to the funding request items without a dollar amount, WPU, which has now been assigned as 6.8%, and the SIS funding request. Any further discussion of that motion, which is effectively now a motion to direct ourselves to add a dollar amount to the SIS funding request? Seeing no discussion to that motion, we'll start at the bottom. Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Straight?
Yes.
Member Reel?
Can you come back to me?
Sure. Member Norton?
I want to wait too.
Okay. Member Lear?
Yes.
Member Carey,
Yes.
Member Hymus,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hart,
No.
Vice Chair Earl,
Mm.
come back.
Yeah, come back.
Member Davis,
Yes.
Member Booth,
Yes.
Member Bogus,
Yes.
Chair Moss, I think we need a number, but I'm not sure we have it yet. And so I'm a no, just to preserve our ability to prioritize this and come back to the number. We had a couple others I want to come back to. Member Earl, or I'm sorry, Real.
I feel similar to you. I wish we would have just worked on the priorities and focused on the numbers later. So I'm gonna also be a no.
And I have
Member Norton.
Member Earl. We could put
Yeah.
a number to it. I don't,
Hold on, I'm just going back up through the list.
sorry, my
to come back. So,
Board-
Member Norton.
Board Chair, I am a yes, and I do have a number from staff if we would like to come back and add that in.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what that number is?
Yep, 38 million for the first year implementation and 5-year sustainment.
That's okay.
So that's 38 million over 5 years? Or,
It would take care of
Yes.
the first year implementation and 5 years of sustainment. After the 5th year, the board would have to figure out sustainment or go back to the legislature.
Point of order. I think we better wait on giving that information till the vote is done and then we can go
Okay.
back to that. So
Okay,
well, yeah, we're not voting on the number. We're
Second.
voting on whether to require ourselves to give a number. So, we had, let's see, let me make sure we got everybody in here. But Member Norton is a yes. Vice Chair Hart. No, you voted no, correct?
I voted no.
Okay. Vice Chair Earl was
and
a,
I was just gonna say, I don't know if we have the full information, but if we have that information, I'm voting no. If we have that information, then that's related to the motion that was made the other day. So I'm a no for right now.
okay. Let's see. That's a no. I'm sorry, folks, making sure I got everybody here. Norton, Member Real. And Member Moss was a no. So what does that give us, Sybil?
I have 9 yeses and 4 nos.
Okay, so that motion passes, and the no's, I believe, were Vice Chair Earl, Vice Chair Hart,
And
Member Real, and Chair Moss, correct?
correct.
Okay, so that motion passes that the board affix a dollar amount to the funding request items without a dollar amount, which would be the SIS funding request. So, again, prior to the underlying motion to move SIS to number 2, do we have a motion to affix a dollar amount to that proposal? Which is now a condition to voting on its priority. Member Norton's motion then is to amend that the board requests $38 million one-time funds for the SIS funding request for the first year and 5-year sustainment. So this is again, having voted ourselves, a condition to voting on the placement of SIS. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion of the motion to the maker, Member Norton?
No, we needed a dollar amount and we got one from people that know what the dollar amount would need to be.
Okay, let's see, Member Davis, Member Booth, and Vice Chair Earl, does that sound right?
That is correct.
Okay, I think they're actually ordering themselves, which is nice. I wasn't sure if that's what was going on. But Member Davis.
Yeah, I didn't know this number before this meeting either, but I think it does make a lot of sense to at least get a ballpark estimate. So we know when we're prioritizing all this, are we asking for $5 million or $200 million? I mean, just to put a question mark in there is really difficult when you're looking at all things in the balance. So I do think we can adjust this is if we get more information that comes to light, but our finance folks sounds like are saying that this is what it would take, you know, at least looking at it right now.
Okay, Member Booth.
So my question would be, what is that amount buying? Is this a full-on SIS statewide system? Is it looking at the system as it's currently operating with different vendors across the state and different LEAs and different charters and figuring out a way to bring it together? If certain things can be brought together, is it starting from scratch? Is it, you know, what are we doing a study of trying to figure out how to make what we have work in a very good way? Or is it strictly going with a statewide system? And we know the reaction of many of the local boards to just doing away with the systems they already have in place. So I'm just wondering what this is, what that amount is.
Jones, would you mind addressing that for us?
Absolutely, sir. To answer Board Member Booth's question, the estimate is based on the known specifications of what right is with a statewide student information system, while also addressing or accounting for LEA inputs on concerns over a one SIS breaking their current systems. We're doing it, so we would need the funding to ensure that we could honor current interoperability at the local education agency level, hence the higher estimate, to make sure that we can try to reduce as much residual impact or collateral, if you would, to the other systems that currently connect or interoperate with the chosen LEA student information system. It's also based on pretty good research and development with other states and what they're paying, and knowing what their capabilities are, and then comparing those to what we again feel or know are the capabilities that we would want to see in an SIS to get to what right is, with proper data reliability and accuracy on behalf of our students and teachers. Does that answer Board Member Booth's question on what the $38 million estimate is constituted of, sir?
I'm seeing a nod.
Yes.
Booth. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see. I still have Member Davis's hand up. Were you next in line?
Yeah, I was just wondering if that's the 38 million for Member Real's motion that passed on the board meeting, or to do one system. I think I'm trying to remember what she had asked for, but it was support for the smaller LEAs and staffing support on our end to work with whichever the vendors are that were approved to be used, that could be consistent with the data that we needed in the form that we needed in. I'm just wondering if we can get clarification on that.
Chair, do you mind if I respond?
Sure. Yeah. As to your motion, and then if Deputy Jones wants to wait, yes, please.
The way that Deputy Jones described it is what we were talking about. So it allows for those that have their system to keep it in place, but work with the one system. And that one system can be used at LEAs that don't have an SIS system. The way that it was described just makes it seem like it's very much aligned.
So Deputy Jones and further board members in the public, when we say one system, we've talked about one system that would be adopted by LEAs. We've talked about one system at the state office, which would tie into USIMS. What's your understanding of the intent then of the $38 million? Would this create a one statewide system used by all LEAs? Would it keep all current systems in place? Would it move LEAs toward all using a single system with support? What would it mean by one system?
It would be one, Chair, it would be one student information system for the whole state, for all LEAs to use or to be in, so to speak.
And that some of that funding would be to assist LEAs in moving toward a single system. Is that
Correct. Yeah, because we don't know. I mean, it very well could be a system that LEAs are currently using, but we wouldn't know for sure until that happens. So we had to account for that in the estimate as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, we could come under. So yes, it would be to put everyone into one student information system for interoperability with their existing systems, like their learning management systems, but then also would interface with or within the USIMS infrastructure. Over.
Okay, Vice Chair Earl and board members,
Yeah,
just want to remind us, we've got a half hour here, so I'm sorry,
Yeah, that doesn't, I mean, the motion wasn't that. The original motion was that one system, and you're right, some could be already using that system. We don't know. My concern is that the 38 million is back to the one system, which was the very thing that was reason why we had an argument, well, a discussion, right, debate around it. And I don't think this supports if we're just going right back to the 38 million, and it sounds like it's 38 million for one system, but that was not what the motion was. And so it's hard. That's why I wouldn't put a number on this right now. I want to better understand what this entails, but it is important that we address it. Anyways, those are my thoughts.
Okay. Let's see, who do
Chair
we have?
Moss, just as a follow-up for my motion.
Yeah.
I'm confused a bit here, because in the first description, it sounded like it was going to be something that allowed flexibility for those that are already using SIS systems to keep the SIS systems they had, but possibly they might need some funding to be able to make it so that it can report and speak to our main SIS system at the state level. But having one blanket system that potentially could be the same as a system that is being used currently is not what my motion was.
Okay, so let's back up here, and I apologize because I was not at the meeting. We've talked typically about one SIS system is giving an opening to find the best among existing or alternate systems to put everybody on the same system and pay to help them get there. And then there's a different, I think what I'm hearing is, so I might need some help from Deputy Jones on the motion that was brought forward. Was there a motion passed?
Yeah, that's why I had board member Real read it. Sorry, Port of Information. I had to read it so we knew what it was.
Okay, real quickly.
Motion, hold on, let me just
Okay,
go to staff. I'll run the traffic here. Let me just keep
Roger.
some order. Let's just get somebody to read the motion. I think Member Real was referring to it. What was the motion and what passed? What was the vote from last time? And was it dispositive of what the legislative funding request would be, or was it a motion to work up a business case for consideration during this ranking process? Usually we've got a number of these that work through the system. So I guess I'm asking, what was the motion and what was its, was it a limit on further development or funding approvals? Somebody have the motion from last time in our staff?
Chair, I do.
Okay, is that Deputy Stallings?
It is. So just as a reminder, and I'm in Kelsey, I'm in the shared doc from the 2024-0906 USDB board meeting, if you want to go to that. It was a motion that had 3 parts to it. So the third part of the motion was related to the SIS system. So while Kelsey is finding that, actually, Kelsey, if you want, I will share it with you. So I'm just sending it to your email. So hopefully it'll be at the top of your email. The third prong, and I'll highlight it so that once you get there, Kelsey, you'll be able to see right where I'm at. The third prong of the motion states that the board directs staff to revise the statewide student information system, SIS, funding request to student information system from statewide student information system to student information system, SAS, and revise the purpose statement to funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support.
Can we freeze that somewhere? There we go. Okay. Student information system. Revise the purpose statement to funds to create a uniform reporting system. So not multiplicity of reporting systems, at least as I'm hearing it. Resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support. That seems to suggest a single system with support for LEAs that don't currently have one. I mean, it's within the control of the body if there's ambiguity. That this is the language that was passed. It seems to me to say uniform, but I think we can't go back and change this, but we can act on what people understood it to mean and what's currently before the body. So let's bring it back for further discussion. I think we had member Carey and then member Lair.
Thank you, Chair. And I thought I heard Deputy Jones say that a portion of the $38 million would be to help these LEAs with a non-compatible system. If that's what was said, Chair, if I may direct this to Deputy Jones, what would be the breakdown? How much would be going to these LEAs with an incompatible system? That question may be moot based on what the chair just read, which seemed to suggest, no, there's just going to be the formulation or creation of one system. But I still would like to know that breakout of how much is being paid for the new system and build out versus how much of that money is going to be used for support. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Deputy Jones.
Yeah, so if I may, just to add, hopefully what's further clarification. Right now, LEAs are operating in a variety of different student information systems. You've heard the terms PowerSchool, Skyward, our very own Aspire, that's a student information system. So the proposal for one SIS is to bring everyone into just that, one SIS, whether it's PowerSchool or Skyward or Infinite Campus or, through the RFP process, that's how it would be determined. So that's the one SIS proposal. What I believe the motion is doing here is it's basically saying what we're already doing with the funding and now the capability that we have, which is the USIMS infrastructure. That is, LEAs keep their PowerSchools, their Skywards, their things, and we build the infrastructure, which we have capability now, 3 years later, than we've never had before to pull from these disparate SISs. However, even then, we have still a high risk of inaccuracy or data issues because of the different types of systems, fields in those systems, those types of things. So a one SIS is proven to provide enhanced or increased benefit of accurate and reliable data. Okay, so there's that. Then to Board Member Carey's question, Chair Moss, the answer is it really depends. I do have a breakdown and I can make that available to him, but without knowing for sure who the vendor is, and if it's a vendor that's already providing adequate student information systems to multiple LEAs, that could change quite a bit. And I hope that helps, but I think it would take a lot of your time here today for me to break all that out for him, but I can provide a breakout for him, but it does depend on who ultimately is selected if the board and this is funded to go into one vendor provided SIS. Does that help answer Board Member Carey's question, sir?
Member Carey?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Jones. That was very informative. I do think the answer, though, with additional information that I would hope isn't just provided to me, but to all the board, I think further reiterates the point that this is something that really needs more time before we jump into it. But thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And so Deputy Jones, I understand the $38 million estimate then to be the cost for moving to a single SIS system throughout the state and the cost to support LEAs to get onto that system or adjust whatever needs to be adjusted in their system to get on that system. Am I saying that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And it is an estimate because again, we don't know what system would be ultimately selected. So, and it would have to meet our specifications. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and I assume part of that would be getting a more concrete picture of the cost to help LEAs to adjust, correct?
Correct. But if they're already in the selected system, then that amount may change.
Okay, so that's the other part that's a little bit
correct.
Uncertain. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Member Lear and then Vice Chair Earl, do I have that right, Sybil?
Correct.
I think so.
We've got 20 minutes, just so we all know.
Thank you, Chair. I'm concerned that this motion, that the amount of money does not reflect the motion that was made by Member Reel. And I do support cleaning up the multiple systems and even moving them toward a single system. But I think under our collective understanding of what we are really voting for, including the amount, is a little hazy. And also, even if it's Sarah's earlier motion, I would not put it as number 2. So I am opposed to the motion, partly because it's unclear and partly because the amount is certainly unclear through no one's fault. It's just a hard estimate to land on. And then secondly, I still have greater concerns than the kvetching of the legislature about our failure to have accurate data when we don't have enough money to have accurate data.
Just a point of clarity, the motion before the body would just assign a dollar number to the funding request item. Whether to move that item up to number 2 would be the underlying motion that would then relate back to. So
helpful to know. That's a good reminder. Thank you.
Talking about the number. Okay, Vice Chair Earl and Member Davis.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to the meeting was not intended for one system, but to create one standards that systems needed to adhere to, or we wouldn't be using them. So it's not, this is not the direction I would head. I know we need accurate reporting. That's why it's important we put some money behind it, but it feels like we're moving back to what it was originally, which we had quite a lengthy discussion. And there's a variety of reasons why, just to kind of push people into one system. Yes, I think build something out that if people want to get into, not build something out, but a vendor that if people want to get into that, but then those that are already vendors, my understanding was to create a uniform reporting system, meaning that they would know what those, what they needed to report up and either adhere to that, or they would need to find a system that did. Anyways, I don't know. I don't necessarily, I think this is still ambiguous to the point where I'm not comfortable moving it either.
So we have on the screen Member Reel's motion to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, potential FTE for statewide SIS data reporting support. We now have that was passed. We have in front of the board a $38 million price tag. It appears there's a little bit of ambiguity in that. I'll just say procedurally, whatever the board decides to do can be adjusted in terms of the intent. If members support 38 million, it can be clarified, adjusted as to where that money goes. So it's not the end of the road. It does appear that there's different takes on this, but this would go in some form to the governor's office, and we would have time to clarify if members wanted to do that. Again, that doesn't go for or against a particular interpretation, but that's where we are. I see members Carrie, Lear, and Davis. Sybil, does that sound right?
I spoke.
Carrie's
Take me
hand
off.
is down. I see member Carrie's hand down.
Yeah, so that's just
Member
Davis.
Okay, did you still have a comment?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just saw your
I
hand. So I
mean,
think you're the only one.
at least we know that what Sarah's motion to what we understood it to be would be multiple systems would adhere to a set of standards. And that we would need money for the small LEAs to be able to find systems that can do that, and FTE money to support staff to work with vendors in consistent meetings to help them do that. And then if they can't come into line and give us what we need as far as our audits go, then eventually we may need to then just move it all the way into one SIS system. But that this was going to be a step to try prior to that step. So at least we know that it wouldn't be more than $38 million. And whatever portion of that 38 million would have been to support the small LEAs, that would be the portion that we would need to use for this, minus the, tech creation of one system and adding the FTE to support the others. So, I mean, I'm okay putting this figure or something less than this, but at least for our intents and purposes, we know it's not going to be more than that. And for your conversation with the governor, for him to support us in these endeavors, he knows it's not going to be more than that. So probably either way we've gone forward, at least this conversation, I think has been really helpful.
All right. And one last comment, member Norton.
And very quickly, when you do that math, that's just a little bit over $7 million a year. It's a lot of money, but we're not talking $38 million for 1 year.
Okay, and I'll just add my comment. Understanding there's, an understanding of member Real's motion that's not immediately or maybe not a single SIS, but moving towards uniformity. Sounds like there's some ambiguity that has to be resolved there, but I support getting a $38 million price tag on this. And I've talked to the governor's office, talked to LEAs, talked to vendors. For me, this is like an interstate system. This is like canals back in the days of Lincoln. This is getting a system on which local control can operate. But the overall system needs to be unified. We need to be able to look into the data, see if it's accurate. We need to do that without requiring a million reports.
Now
I
you're
see
not
this as,
sticking to the motion, Chair.
I'm sorry, this is to the $38 million, member Lair. This is why I support $38 million. So we can get access to data, we can have uniformity, we can have data security, and people who make local decisions, we will understand the effect of those decisions. We've talked in a lot of areas about reporting, smart reporting, understanding what's working well and what's not. I see this 38 million going towards a better way to do that, a more efficient way. And I see this as a central item. I'm all for local control, but like a canal on which you choose your product and you serve your price, but you've got a system of freeways or canals on which those products and prices move. I think we need this. And I appreciate Deputy Jones looking into it. It's been a long discussion, but whatever moves us toward uniformity, accuracy, data security, so that we can actually assess and understand the effect of those local decisions. So any further comments or discussion? Seeing no lights, the motion is that the board request $38 million one-time funds for the SIS funding request for the first year and 5-year sustainment. We'll start, let's see, where did we go last time? I think we started at the top. Member Wood. I skipped myself. Member Moss is a yes. Member Wood?
Yes.
Member Wood's a yes. Member Straight?
Just a point of information. Does this include the motion by Board Member Rill?
It seems to follow from the motion from member Real, as I would understand it. Whatever that motion means, I think that's still in effect, unless I'm misunderstanding. The language that we read was passed by the board. That's subject to change by the board, but my understanding is that's in effect. Unless I'm wrong. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's just how you define the language in the motion. Because
Correct.
it seems like
Right.
you're defining it as one system that everybody gets on, and the people who were voting for it the day, I can't remember if you were there that day, were voting for multiple sisters aligning to consistent standards.
I'm saying that I'm in favor of a single system, but the motion is passed, seems to have different interpretations, including some who say uniform standards. So I'm just saying the language of that motion that we read, that's what governs. And, you know, if people want to clarify or change it, they always can. But I think that's binding what was passed, right?
And
So-
what was passed was multiple systems to conforming to one system or one system of standards.
But it was.
Okay, the motion language is what governs, right? So there's I wasn't there. People have expressed differences, but the language is in effect, as I
So
understand
how
it.
are you defining the language of the motion, Chair?
Well, just what was read. I just the actual language is what governs, right? So if we can pull that back up there, that
But
whatever I want ultimately, or what anybody else wants, the language of the motion governs. So it is
Well, it
revised.
took out statewide.
Okay.
Took out.
Request to student information system and revise the purpose statement to funds to create a uniform reporting system, resources for LEAs without a sustainable SIS system, and potential FTE for statewide SIS data and reporting support. So that's what the board passed. The 38 million would go to do that. And I've expressed that I'd ultimately like to see a single SIS system. Maybe this is not that.
But see, that's messing with our motion. And
Well,
that's-
no, sir. I'm not. This is not. I'm saying I ultimately would like to see that. That doesn't mean I'm saying it's what the motion says. The motion says what it said.
The
Right.
motion, I thought the immediate motion was about the amount of money.
Correct, and
To
that money attaches to this motion, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, it attaches to the item that's proposed to be on the agenda, on the priority list.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm trying to give due respect to the motion that was passed by the board as prepared by member Reel.
That's,
My understanding is that motion would govern this, but you tell me if maybe our parliamentarian needs to step in. My understanding is the motion was passed. That was the language that was passed as proposed by member Reel, and that would attach to the 38 million. But Sybil, does that sound off?
That would take me a little more time, Chair Moss, to decide that. I couldn't just
Okay.
tell you if those two right now.
Well, we've had a motion passed. We also have a proposal to put $38 million. And
So,
both of these can be revisited by the board if there's lack of clarity. My understanding is member Reel's motion was passed and is in effect.
That is correct.
Okay. And so now the motion is to add 38 to put a price tag of $38 million for the SIS funding request for the first year and 5-year sustainment.
right, which is,
So
it's only to attach the money to it, not to further explain the system.
okay, well, we've got a motion that was passed. We got a motion before the body. Let's complete the vote. I was a yes. Member Wood, are you still a yes? I see nodding. Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay. Member Straight.
So I support the motion from board member Norton. And with that being the case, I will vote yes.
Okay. Member Reel.
I wish that I could give everyone a 30 to 45-minute tech lecture on how all this works so that we could have some clarity, and I'm happy to do that. But I'm voting yes because I think that we need to make sure we have a dollar amount to this. I think the dollar amount might change. I'm not super happy that we added a dollar amount at this time, but I'm still a yes.
Okay. Member Norton.
Yes.
Member Lear.
Come back to me, please.
Okay. Member Carey.
No.
Member Carey's a no. Member Hymas.
Yes.
Member Hymas is a yes. Vice Chair Hart,
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl,
Yeah. I want to be yes. I don't know what this is, and I do want the SIS prioritized. So I am a no right now because I don't know what this really is. So
okay, Member Davis,
Yes.
Member Booth,
Yes.
Member Bogus.
No.
Okay, that has 1, 2, 3.
Jim, you need to,
Oh, Member Lear, sorry.
I feel like you've conflated two motions, but I will vote yes because I feel like this is an estimate that can change. And that's the less important thing to me than the underlying motion. The second motion that shouldn't have been part of this, I believe.
Okay, and all right. I'm trying to honor the board's prior vote, but I understand there's some differences of interpretation. So that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yes votes and 1, 2, 3 no votes. Does that sound right, Sybil?
That is correct, Chair Moss.
Okay, the no votes being Member Bogus, Vice Chair Earl, and Member Carey. So that motion passes. And with 6 minutes left on the clock, we have now attached a number or a percentage, which equals a number, to both the WPU and the SIS. We have not yet made any changes, but this takes us back to the underlying motion that was before the body to move the SIS legislative funding request, now with the price tag of $38 million, to number 2. Any further discussion of that motion? If not, let us vote. We'll start at the top. Member Bogus.
No.
Member Booth.
No.
Member Davis.
No.
Vice Chair Earl.
can you just remind me what position would be in if it's not in second? What is it in?
Fifth.
Okay, I'm a no.
Vice Chair Hart.
Wait a minute, which motion are we doing?
The motion
Please
move
restate the
SIS
motion.
funding. Yeah, it's the motion to move the SIS legislative funding request, price tag of 38 million, from number 5 to number 2.
Yes.
Member Hymas.
No.
Member Carey.
No.
Member Lear.
No.
Member Norton.
Yes.
Member Reel.
No.
Member Straight.
No.
Member Wood.
No.
And Chair Moss is a yes. That motion fails with 3 yes votes being Vice Chair Hart, Member Norton, Chair Moss, and 12 opposed. So that brings us back then to additional proposals to move. The motion on the floor is that the moved the teacher professional hours legislative funding request from number 3 to number 2. Discussion of that motion, has that been, I guess that was seconded according to Sybil. So Member Davis, Member Straight, and Member Booth. This would just be to bump it up by 1 spot.
I have a substitute motion to move the priorities that had the input from each of the board members as they were published to prioritize our top 10 with WPU. Actually, I would like to prioritize the top 12. So the WPU and then 11 after that, and take 12 to the governor's office.
Second.
That would take us down to the registered apprenticeship program for teachers. That's been seconded, I believe, by Member Straight. Member Davis is the maker of the motion.
Yes.
Would you like to speak to it?
Oh, I think our meeting's supposed to end in 1 minute, and everybody had an input toward these priorities. And I think that, we came out with a good list and we should move them forward.
Okay, Member Booth?
I'll put my hand down.
Vice Chair Earl?
Yeah, I think going to 12 is expansive. There's limited funds this year. A lot of these are big asks. I really think we should narrow it down, and I feel like there's still there's a handful of extra stuff in here that is just that, it's extra stuff on a year that we're gonna be tight. I don't know, maybe I make an amendment that we take the top 6 to the legislature. Or those become a priority. I just feel like even 10's feeling like it's too much, but actually that's mine, just to move it to 6 as our top priorities as a 6.
So
Or
this would
7.
take
Actually, let
through-
me think, because we've added one in, haven't we?
We got a WPU, so yeah, what would be your proposed
So it
cutoff?
would be the top 7 instead of 12, just same motion, just amend it to say 7. So it included the school safety in it. And then the others would be there as recommendations, but not priorities. But there's still, I don't even know. Okay.
All
I'll go
right.
7, and maybe another amendment after that, but.
There is the possibility of amendment. We do need to finalize this to get it to the governor's office. So the motion to combine did not pass, correct? Audit stated number 9.
Right.
So I don't believe we've altered. I just want to make clear for the board. I don't think we've altered anything except for adding price tags. Deputy Stallings, did you?
Just wanted to clarify that, Member Earl, your motion is to have a total of 7, or is it to have a total?
No, just to prioritize 7 of it, meaning that we have a priority of 7, and then the others would be sent as well.
Okay, including the WPU. So
Instead of the 12, so that's top, okay.
WPU number 1 and then the next 6, right?
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
That would run through school safety.
But you gotta
correct?
see if it'll even be seconded. If it's not seconded, we don't even need to have any discussion.
No, let's just be clear for the body to see if they want a second. This would take us through school safety as number 7 to
Yep.
be prioritized. And just a reminder, the board and the public, prioritized is typically what we present to the legislature as our priorities when we go up to PEA. Those that have also been approved by the board but not prioritized kind of sit there as items that have been approved but not prioritized. Occasionally, the legislature looks to those if they've awarded other money, but leadership is typically stuck to those that we voted to prioritize. So the motion here is top 7, including WP. Was there a second?
Second.
Second
I
by
second.
Vice Chair
Hart.
Hart? Okay. Did you want to speak further to it, Vice Chair Earl?
No, I just think we've got to say, what are our top priorities? We want all these priorities. I think that's, the legislature wants to see that. There's not a lot of funds this year. We want to get our WPU in and a handful of other things that are very important. I just would go to 7. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, Member Davis?
Yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry, my microphone was on. They already can see our priorities. They'll give what they have money for. If they have money for 3, they know these are our first 3 choices. If they have money for 6, these are our first 6. If they have money for 9 and 10, they'll go to 9 and 10. But they can read these numbers and see what our priorities are. So I'm a no on, limiting. It's better to give more information than less.
Okay, Vice Chair Hart?
I actually disagree. I think we're being tone deaf. We've been, this issue's been addressed before. You can't set 11 priorities. That you can't do that. That's not a priority. That's a full-on list. And I think it dilutes the things at the top, and I think it takes away from a priority. It now becomes JCPenney catalog. And it doesn't signal that we have priorities. And it doesn't signal that what really truly matters to us. We've addressed this before and it doesn't seem to go very well. So.
Okay, Member Lear.
Thank you. I feel like it's never gone very well. We've never asked for money for vouchers, and they funded vouchers to the tune of $80 million over the last 2 years. So I think it is important to have the state boards articulated priorities. And I would probably go down to 20. And then when the legislature chooses to fund other items, the board members who choose to can say, no, we voted for 14 different items than that. The legislature is not listening to us. I don't think it's being tone deaf, with all respect, Vice Chair Mully. I think it's saying these are our values. These are our priorities. You can choose as a legislature to fund other things, but it's not in our top 14. So I think it is important, to say these are our priorities. And I agree with Member Davis that they can see what's number 1, what's number 5, what's number 9. And if they're interested, and we can rely on those as the board's choices.
Thank you. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. I move to adjourn.
Okay, it's non-debatable. Let's see where that goes. We will start with Member Bogus. Motion is
Yes,
to
sir.
adjourn. Member Bogus is a yes. Member Booth.
No.
Member Davis.
No.
Member Vice Chair Earl.
Yeah, yes.
Vice Chair Hart.
No.
Member Hymas.
I don't know.
A choice.
I'll say no.
Substitute motion to get Member Hymas some serious meds. You're a trooper. Member Carey.
Yes.
Member Lear.
No.
Member Norton.
No.
Member Reel.
No, but I do have to switch to my phone, so I'm going to be in transit for a minute.
Okay. Member Straight.
No.
Member Wood.
No.
Chair Moss is a no. That motion fails. The yes votes being Member Bogus, Vice Chair Earl, and Member Carey. 12 opposed. So the motion that was pending was that the board amend the top 12 priorities and the substitute motion to a top 7. And I had a hand, I think, Member Lear, did you speak? And
I spoke. I'm sorry, my
no worries. Member Carey.
Yeah, Chair, I just have a point of information, and probably to the maker of the motion. The motion that's pending now, if I understand it, is to cap our priorities at 7, but we are not affixing a priority list in the motion, are we?
It would go along with what board member Davis has. So I would probably make some other motions to move some things around, but I would stop at 7. So
Okay.
that's what it is. Yeah, it caps at 7.
Yeah, if we're capping it at 7 and not prioritizing, I support the motion. Thank you, Chair.
I think it's capping at the top 7 from WPU through number 7. Is that right, Vice Chair Earl?
That would be right, because that's Cindy. The only thing I'm altering from her motion is the 12 to 7 or 11 to 7. But yeah, there may be other motions after, so.
So, and this is for today. Again, the current deadline, which is both a blessing and a curse, is to get this to the governor's office. We are not precluded from altering what we're doing here in October, November, December. It obviously gets closer to the session and trickier to move, but I just want members to recall this is the importance of pinning this down today. So the motion is for submission to the governor's office, and going forward, unless altered, we would be prioritizing the top 7, including WPU. The others would be on, quote, the list, which means they might be considered by the legislature, but they would not be advocated to PEA as our board priorities, unless it's changed. Member Booth.
I would just like to state that the numbers 8 through 12 are near and dear to many people's hearts, and particularly to teachers and students across the state, and to just leave them in a pile somewhere to be forgotten, I feel negligent, and I would love for people out there to know that we support them, even if the legislature can't support them or the governor can't support them with the money. I hate to say to all of those children that BTS is not important. It's not a priority anymore, was for a while. And for those of you that don't have any arts experiences for the rest of your life, it's because we decided in a board meeting that we were going to just lop off at number 7. And all the others, or I'm not just saying BTS, but any of the others that are there, somebody cares deeply about it. And for them to be a priority, they can be number 12 or 13 or 18 or whatever. But I think we should let people know that we have concerns for many issues, and it's complex, and we respect their authority to make decisions wisely, but we want them to know that we have some interest and we're watching carefully what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Straight.
Yes, I agree with Board Member Booth. You know, several years back, number 10 became actually went through. It's quite a bit of money, and now it's number 3 on our list, and it was number, I think, 2 last year. But not everything that I was in favor of made it in the top 7, but it made it in other areas that are ranked. It would open up a can of worms of posturing now. So let's go back and let's vote this one down and go back to Board Member Davis's and go from there.
Okay, thank you. I see Member Carey and Vice Chair Earl. Were those both up for this?
It doesn't remove the interest. It doesn't scrap the rest of them. It's just that they're below. We have these priorities, and then we have these items that are still of interest. It doesn't scrap that. I just want to be clear on that. It's not like we cut it there and we take a pair of scissors and it's gone. The other items are still there. So it's just that the others become a higher priority. We're actually expanding our priorities. I don't know why we're ending at 11 if this is what we're going to do. We might as well just add all of them. There's only a couple more. But the point of having a priority list is to narrow it down and say, if these are where we're headed, these are other things that we are prioritizing. We still have an interest in these, but if we're going to spend money, this is where we want it spent. So.
Okay, thank you for those comments. I'll just say that I'm in favor, and I don't think that eliminates consideration of the others. I think there's time to address these. We've got, if this passes, there are 2 in the top 7 that are each $100 million. That's paid professional hours and safety. I know both of those are potentially moving targets, so I don't see this as final, but I think it helps us in our relations with the legislature to frame up a certain number to present at PEA. So I'm in favor of that without jettisoning the rest. They would be approved but not prioritized. That's my vote, and I think we are ready to vote. Seeing no other hands or lights. Member Wood, the motion then is to prioritize the top 7 from WPU down to, let me just see what that is. Let me scroll down just a little bit. Down to school safety. So
No. No.
Member Straight.
No.
Member Reel.
No.
Member Norton.
This is painful for me. This is a really hard vote. because I have been saying for months and months and months, we have got to be careful. We've got to limit our asks. And if we want the legislature to listen, we have to listen to them. And yet, some of my very favorite items on this list are down below number 7, but I'm a yes.
Okay, member Lear,
No.
member Carey,
Randy Booth's speech changed my mind. I'm a no.
okay, member Hymas,
Yes.
member or Vice Chair Hart,
We're not killing any programs. We're simply not asking for additional funding. Yes.
I have a,
Then why can't we give
No.
our opinion of how they get ordered?
Hold on, we're just explaining your vote, not debating. It's all right. Vice Chair Earl,
Yes.
member Davis,
No.
member Booth,
No.
member Bogus,
No.
Chair Moss is a yes. That motion, I think, fails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses, being member Vice Chair Earl, Vice Chair Hart, member Hymas, member Norton, and member Moss. And let's see, we've got 13, so 8 opposed, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's see. I think then we have the underlying substitute motion from member Davis, which is that the board directs staffs, and we should probably wrap up here, direct staff to communicate the board's legislative funding request priorities as the 6.8% total WPU funding request. The board ranked top 11 after the WPU for the 2025 legislative session, according with the Budgetary Procedures Act. Start at the top this time, member Bogus. Unless there was further discussion, I don't see any hands. All right, member Bogus,
No.
member Booth,
Yes.
member Davis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl,
Sorry, no.
Vice Chair Hart,
No.
member Hymas,
No.
member Carey,
No.
member Lear,
yes.
member Norton,
Yes.
member Reel,
Yes.
member Straight,
Yes.
member Wood,
No.
member Moss is a no. That motion has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses, and so it fails. The yeses being member Booth, member Davis, member Lear, member Norton, member Reel, and member Straight. And the rest opposed. Okay, so the floor is still open. We had a number of, I guess what we still had before, let's see. We did not address motion number 3, which is to move the teacher professional hours to number 2. That was pending. Actually, I think we had a substitute, so that took care of that one. That was to move to number 3 to number 2. I'm sorry, the substitute failed, so that brings us back, Sybil, to, I guess, the pending number 3, correct?
I lost you a little bit, but yes, you will be on the next motion that was divided. So that would be motion number
Number
2.
Well, we voted on motion number 2, it failed. Number 3 was before the body when a substitute was presented and then an amendment to the substitute. Those both failed.
So
I think
you're
we're
on
back
3.
to-
You're
yeah,
on
we're back
3,
to
sir.
3, which is to move the teacher professional hours legislative funding request from number 3 to number 2. Member Davis,
Yeah.
I have a substitute motion to move the WPU and the board's top 8. And remove number 14 altogether from the list altogether of the non-prioritized at the bottom.
Okay, let's see that up if we could. So that's now number 15 or number 14?
It's
What was
now
it?
number 15, just take it off.
Now number 15.
It's the
Okay,
least
so,
supported, yep.
okay. So the motion is to prioritize WPU plus 8, which would take us through the Beverly Taylor Sorensen item and drop number 14. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Will speak to the motion, Member Davis?
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to vote on something today, so the board has a voice in the meeting with the governor coming up. And these are the things that we voted on, and we can add a couple of our numbered priorities so they know our will as far as prioritization. And we can take off the bottom to help offset adding in, BTS and that extra there.
Okay, Member Bogus, is that speaking to this motion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make an amendment.
Okay, that's in order.
I would ask that we move number 4 to number 14. And in its place, put number 9.
Okay, I
What's,
think that's in order. That would be the second and last.
what is number 9?
It is the internal audit critical function capacity.
So that's currently 10, previously 9, but the audit would be exchanged from number 10 to wherever Grow Your Own is, correct?
No, I'm moving the SIS system, number 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, which is now number 5. Let's just frame that up. The motion is to exchange number 5 now, which is SIS, with number 10 now, which is audit, correct?
Yes, sir. I think I must have an old document or something. I'm not certain exactly why my numbers are off.
They all just got bumped down 1 when we added WPU at the top. So 4 went to 5 and 9 went to 10. Let's just make
Get
sure
a
we got the
second? Is there a second or not?
So I'm still confused. What becomes number 4?
Let's get this up here and then we can see if we have a second. It's always good to
Well-
make sure we know what we're seconding.
We need to know what the motion is too, to know if we want to second it.
That's what I mean. Yeah, let's get the language of the motion and the numbering up here so you can decide whether to second it. I think we're saying the same thing. All right.
Well, Grow Your Own was supposed to go away. That's what she said. And it's still there.
She said number 4, but she clarified, I believe. Remember, Bogus, you can step in there. I think she thought SIS was 4 when she said,
Oh, okay.
because everything's been moved down 1. So,
Oh, got it.
and maybe we could add this, move SIS funding from number 5 to number 10 and move audit from number 10 to number 5.
Yes, sir. That is framed correctly.
Okay. All right, so the underlying motion would be to prioritize the WPU plus, I thought it was plus 8.
Her motion was just to move 2 of them right now.
No, I'm sorry, the
S-
underlying motion. My question is the underlying motion. Was it WPU plus 8, Member Davis, or top 7 for 8 total? Okay, gotcha.
It
All
was,
right.
it was
All right.
WPU plus 8, and the number, I don't know how the numbers adjusted, but the one I was going to get rid of was the bottom one voted by the board, which was the thing about the one they put all the money into last year, the one kind of vendor university.
Your
and then the merit
incentives
pay.
impacting learning, right?
Yes, that's the one to take off.
Okay, but I have an earlier question. Was it WPU plus 8? That's how I read it. The motion is currently not framed that way, the underlying motion. Can we look at that again for a sec?
It would be WPU plus the 8 following.
Which
So it
would
would
lead
include
to-
number 9. It would include the school lunch.
All right, so let's get that up there. All right.
And
so
then
that's-
I'm not bumping the other things off the list entirely. The other stuff would stay as it is, not numbered, but we would just, of those not numbered things that we support, we would take off that last one that got the least amount of board votes.
the educator incentives impacting learning for student success, which ended up 15 after the WPU was added. So I'm just making sure we know the underlying motion, then I'll return to Member Bogus's motion. This would prioritize 1 through 9. It would leave on the list of approved items that could be considered outside of priorities, but would not be part of the priorities, everything down through number 14, and would drop what is now 15, educator incentives impacting learning for student success. That sound right? That's the underlying motion by Member Davis. Within that motion, then Member Bogus's a motion to amend would exchange number 10, which is the internal audit critical functional capacity, currently lying just outside the proposed priorities, exchange that with number 5, the student information system. All right, Member Hymas, sorry, that's all.
Thank you. I'm simply here to second Member Bogus's motion. And I just to speak briefly, this is the reason I'm doing this is after all this discussion on the SIS, I'm still not sure where we are. This might come back later. I get it. But obviously there's some confusion. So I'm going to second this motion.
Okay, it's been seconded. Did you want to speak to the motion further, Member Bogus?
Yes, sir. I would just say that I would ditto Member Hymas's comment, and then I would just offer that our audit people are going 600 miles an hour, and I know we chose not to combine these, and that's fine. I think that the legislature can entertain them in isolation and work through that process. But I do think it's important that critical needs in our audit department be looked at in the top end, and my LEAs as well as my constituents are not in favor of an SIS at this time.
But it's 5. Okay.
Okay, further discussion, Member Norton.
I think a lot of work has been done on SIS. I think we are at a critical point in our infrastructure. I know it's not fun to invest in infrastructure, but I'm really glad we have sewer systems and power lines, especially today. And I think this is infrastructure for education in Utah, and we've got to prioritize it, and this legislature needs to know it is a top priority to us.
Okay, thank you, Member Norton. I see no other hands or lights. So we can vote. The motion is that the board direct staff to revise the prioritized list of legislative funding requests to move SIS legislative funding requests to number 10 on the list and move internal audit critical functional capacity to number 5 on the list. Start with member, let's see, where did we start? Member Bogus.
Yes.
Member Booth.
No.
Member Davis.
No.
Vice Chair Earl.
Come back.
Vice Chair Hart.
No.
Member Hymas.
Yes.
Member Carey.
Yes.
Member Lear.
No.
Member Norton. Member Norton,
No.
member Reel,
No.
member Straight,
No.
member Wood,
No.
Chair Moss is a no, member Vice Chair Earl.
Yes.
Okay, that motion fails with the yeses being 1, 2, 3, 4. Member Bogus, Vice Chair Earl, member Hymus, and member Carey. All right, so back to the underlying motion by member Davis, which was to prioritize the top 9, including number 1 WPU, for 9 total for the 2025 legislative session, and to eliminate number 15, educator incentives, in accordance with the Budgetary Procedures Act. Vice Chair Earl. Jenny, do you have a comment? You're muted if you're talking.
Sorry, I'm trying to go back and forth between screens here. So I would actually substitute, reverse the order of the educator, the National Board Certified Educators and the Educator Supplement Programs.
Point of order, aren't we in the middle of voting?
I don't think so. This is an
Oh.
amendment.
I thought he was.
We were about to. I made a final call for.
Yeah, and
I
I
don't think
raised my
anybody
hand.
voted on this one. We just
Yep.
completed the voting in the last one.
I would just make it a motion to switch those two.
Which two?
It's
Where?
the educator incentives. It's number 6, National Board Certified, with the Educator Supplement Program, which I think is now 11. Just changing the order of those 2 items.
Well, switching the two. One becomes 6, one becomes, the other becomes 11 now.
That would be accurate. Yep.
Sorry, can you state them again?
Yes, I'd be happy to. It's the Educator Incentives, National Board Certified Teachers, switching it with the Educator Supplement Program.
So Ben, I think it's 6 and 7. Is that right?
It's, the new numbers would be 6 and
11.
if you shifted them down 1. If you have the WP at 1, and then the others would be 6 and 11, switching their place values.
Okay, sorry. So educator incentives, National Board Certified Teachers will go to 7 and
We'll
And
go to 11, and then this Educator Supplemental Program will go up to whatever that place was, 6.
6. Okay. And I'm just putting in there what it would look like by striking through the 1. Oops. So you can see what the impact would be. If the motion passes.
Hey, let's see. That cover it?
Yes.
Okay, was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah, what he
Carried.
said.
You
And
want
I'll
to speak?
just, yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
quickly speak to it. I just think the supplemental Educator Supplemental Program, to me, really needs, these are people that are in the schools. The other is an incentive program, which is great. There's other incentive programs too. There's many things that people can do to improve, but I do think that this one makes a good switch for those that are inclusive in the schools right now. So that's why I'd say that.
Okay, any discussion of that motion? Member Straight.
I've spoke on this quite a bit. I could speak for a long time. I'm not against the educator supplemental program, but we've seen time and time again the value of the National Board Certification. It is hard work that makes for great teachers. Please keep it where it's at.
Member Bogus and then Member Davis.
I have no further comment on this motion. I support it. I have a motion.
Okay, Member Davis.
This is really tough because I think both are really important. I'm going to support this motion because this is the base that everybody's already getting that OTs and PTs were left out of. So I can see, but either way the vote goes, I'd be comfortable with either. And just knowing also that both are going to stay on the support list, just wouldn't be numbered.
Okay, and Member Lear.
And I agree. This is a really tough one for me, but I think if we keep emphasizing academic excellence, we have to go with what we know provides academic excellence, and that is trained teachers at a very high level. And the data, the National Board Certified program have the data to prove it. That their retention is greater, their impact on students is greater, and I think we again, tough call because I also very much believe in the paraprofessionals in our schools, but I think if we really mean what we say about academic excellence, we go where we know that there's what programs support that excellence. So I'll have to vote no on this.
Okay, Member Bogus, I think you were holding for a motion. Member Davis.
Just a quick point of information. When we supported this last time, it also included the speech technologists, which are just a step under the pathologist, but still licensed through USBE. There's a little bit of discretion or discrepancy right now, but we think that they're already included through the USBE license, but they're not labeled in code. So once we figure that out a little bit more, when we come back to our next meeting, I may ask if the board would consider adding speech technologists to this, depending what we find out. Just want to throw that out there for now, though.
Okay, thank you, Member Davis. I'm not seeing any further hands up, so the motion is to direct staff to revise the prioritized list of legislative funding requests to move Educator Incentives National Board Certification to number 11 and move Educator Supplemental Program request to number 6. Member Wood.
No.
Member Straight.
No.
Member Reel.
No.
Member Norton.
No.
Member Lear.
No.
Member Carey.
Yes.
Member Hymas.
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Hart.
No.
Vice Chair Earl.
Yes.
Member Davis.
Yes.
Member Booth.
No.
Member Bogus.
Yes.
Vermont is a yes. That motion, I believe, fails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses. The yeses being Member Bogus, Member Davis, Vice Chair Earl, Member Hymas, Member Carey, and Member Moss. Okay, so that motion fails. Go back to the underlying motion, which is communicate the priorities we've discussed, 1 through 9, including WPU, while dropping number 15, which was the educator incentives impacting learning for student success. Back to Member Davis. Sybil, do I have these in order? Just a sec. Let me make sure I'm getting these right. I don't want to. I'm seeing, oh, Member Davis, hand down. I see Member Bogus and Member Straight. Am I getting that right, Sybil?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. Member Bogus?
Yes, sir. I'd move to divide out your SIS system.
Okay, let's see. So dividing that, let's see. Would presumably then remove it from the list of priorities, but leave it on the list, correct? I think that would be the effect. If the motion is to vote separately on whether to include SIS in the priorities, I'm not sure how that works technically. I
What does
would
that
think
mean to divide it out?
Where does it go?
well, that's what I'm wondering. I wonder if that means it drops it outside the priorities to number 10, or if it would require a motion. I'm not sure divide works there. I'm trying to make it work, but would that need a separate motion to just remove it down out of that list, or can we do it as a motion to divide having the effect of dropping it out of the list? Maybe Sybil, sorry to throw another curveball at you.
Chair
I think-
Moss, if I may, I
Yeah.
agree with your assessment that probably the better motion would be to move the SIS legislative funding request to number 10 or 12 or to the bottom of the list, whatever Board Member Bogus would like.
Okay, I think that would be the effect of the motion, Member Bogus. My sense is that would be more technically appropriate, would be to move to drop it out of the potentially prioritized list, which would be to put it at number 10. Is that consistent with your intent?
Yep.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Not
I'll
hearing a
second.
second.
I'll
Nope.
second. Sorry.
Member Hymas seconds. Okay, you want to speak to the motion, Member Bogus?
Well, yeah, I don't, I think I've already spoken to it in this meeting, maybe a number of times. It's, there's no clarity. It's not something that's supported by my LEAs, my constituents. And the move to centralize anything is inherently authoritarian at its core. And I can't get behind that.
Okay, Member Straight?
Point of order, Chair.
Yes.
I moving it to number 10 would still leave it on a list of support, just not numbered, correct? So if people want a chance to just vote no on it altogether, they would need to divide it out of this list and then just vote on the other stuff.
Correct. Since the motion before the body was to prioritize rather than remove or add to the list, this would drop it out of the prioritized group.
Or you can just divide it out, just divide it. So people who want to vote yes on it can vote yes, and those who want to vote no can vote no.
We asked about that. The guidance was that the more appropriate motion would be to move to bring it out of that prioritized list. That was our.
It's fine if it's still approved there.
Yeah, it would drop to the list that are approved but not prioritized. If the motion passes, it would drop it down to number 10, taking it out of the scope of Vice Chair Davis's underlying motion. Member Straight?
I have a separate motion from that.
To come back to you, or?
Yeah,
Or-
it's come back to me. I don't think it would fit in with this one.
Okay. So the motion then is that the board directs staff to revise the prioritized list to move the SIS legislative funding request to number 10, keeping it outside of Member Davis's list that is proposed to be prioritized by the board. And I'll start at the bottom. Member Wood.
Sorry, I went to unmute and turned off the video instead. No.
Member Straight.
No.
Member Reel.
No.
Member Norton.
No.
Member Lear.
No.
Member Carey.
Yes.
Member Hymas.
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Hart.
No.
Vice Chair Earl.
I'm, this is getting to be, I still don't know what the $38 million is, and there's been that element that it still hangs over my mind. I'm gonna say yes on this.
Okay, Member Davis?
I think I already voted. Yeah,
I
I
don't-
think I was a no.
Okay.
He started at the bottom, so you hadn't voted.
No.
Okay. Member Booth,
No.
Member Bogus,
Yes.
Tremas is a no. That motion fails with 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses, being Member Bogus, Vice Chair Earl, Member Hymas, and Member Carey. So back to the underlying motion, which is to prioritize WPU +8, which runs through number 9, school lunch, and drop number 15 from the prioritized list. Member Straight.
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment.
Okay.
I'd like to change for 9 total to 10 and add number 11 in as 10.
Point of information.
Yes.
What are we moving then?
Well, we're going to prioritize 10 instead of 9. And the one that was going to replace educator incentives, national board certification, we'll move that one into number 10.
Okay, so this
Can I
would
see
be,
that in context?
yeah, it's going up there. So this would be WPU +9 and number 10. So it would be top 10. And 10 would be national board certified teachers.
No.
Oh, sorry. It would be, which one?
Number 11. It's the one that
What?
failed to replace national board.
Educator supplemental programs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
what moves out of the priority then, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, there are
Nothing
some
would drop
strong
out.
feelings.
Add one. Go ahead, Member Straight, sorry.
There were strong feelings about 6 and 11, and we put those in competition with each other. Obviously, it's important enough we had that vote. So I'd like to have that prioritized as number 10. That's plain and simple.
So it would expand from 9 to 10, and it would move up into that 10 spot educator supplemental programs rather than internal audit, correct? I think internal audit was sitting at 10, and now it would be educator supplemental programs. Yeah.
We do still need a second, Chair Moss.
Oh, second, Chair Moss.
Seconded
Sorry.
by Member Lear. Okay, let's see, do we have it framed up? I think we do. Any discussion of the motion, Member Straight?
I just think it's a good compromise to recognize the importance of both.
Any further discussion of the motion? Okay, the motion then to amend is that the board amend the substitute motion. That is Member Davis's list of 1 through 9 to instead prioritize the top 10 and move educator supplemental program legislative funding request into that number 10 spot rather than internal audit. So let's see, start at the top this time, Member Bogus.
No.
Member Booth,
Yes.
Member Davis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl,
Yes.
Hey, I'm on a, let's see.
Vice Chair Hart,
Sorry, no.
Member Hymas,
No.
Member Carey,
Yes.
Member Lear,
Yes.
Member Norton,
Yes.
Member Reel,
Yes.
Member Straight,
Yes.
Member Wood,
Yes.
Member Moss is a no. That motion passes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yeses. The noes being Moss, Hymas, Hart, and Bogus. Okay, so that motion passes. We go back to the underlying motion to substitute, which is to prioritize the top 10 before you on the screen, and still to drop number 15, the least ranked item, which was educator incentives impacting learning for student success. And I don't see any lights on that. Excuse me, any hands? Yell out if I'm not seeing your hand, but I think there are none. So let's vote. Start at the bottom. If Member Wood,
Yes.
Member Straight,
Yes.
Member Reel,
Yes.
Member Norton,
Yes.
Member Lear,
Yes.
Member Carey,
Yes.
Member Hymas,
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Hart,
No.
Vice Chair Earl,
No.
Member Davis,
Yes.
Member Booth,
Yes.
Member Bogus,
No.
Chair Moss is a no. That motion passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The noes being Moss, Hart, Earl, and Bogus. Okay, with that motion, we have a top 10 prioritized for the governor's office. Again, this could be taken for amendment. Vice Chair Earl.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion adjourned, seconded. I will go through the list. Member Bogus,
Yes.
Member Booth,
Yes.
Member Davis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Earl,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hart,
Yes.
Member Hymas,
Yes.
Member Carey,
Yes.
Member Lear,
Yes.
Member Norton,
Yes.
Member Reel,
Yes.
Member Straight,
Yes.
Member Wood.
Yes.
Sensing you had more to say, Member Straight. Member Wood, did you say yes?
Yes.
All right, Member Moss is a yes. So we are adjourned. We will discuss this again in October. Thank you, board members, for all your work. Thank you, staff, for working all of this up. Appreciate the discussion. We will see you all